Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a very busy day for us today as we anticipate the main event, which is the Federal Reserve rate decision coming up later on today. And it's on this note, I welcome you all to yet another promising session as we are going to be taking a technical dissection of the current market structure to decipher what our next line of action will be and how to manage our existing trade, and let's see how we are going to be positioning ourselves up for ahead of the London and the New York session. So once again, I welcome you all guys to yet another promising session, and I'm so excited to be here with you today as we are witnessing one of the most profitable profitable last 24 hours for us in the last couple of weeks. So I would like to confirm that you can hear me and can see my screen before we dive right into the business for today. So if you can see my screen and you can hear me clearly without no issues with the audio quality, please let me know right in the comment section. I will appreciate some feedback, please. So let me see what we have here. Hold on a second, please. I'm trying to... Okay, I think... So I would like to see some feedbacks, please. Let me know if you are actually hearing me and seeing my screen appropriately. So welcome once again to another promising session. And for those who are joining us for the first time, what we simply do here is to come together ahead of the London and the New York session to position ourselves, of course. And then we also have existing trades that we are monitoring, which is as a result of instrument that I was able to publish during the course of the weekend. So for this week, we have 4 financial instruments that we have in our watch list, and these are the USDJPY, the GBPUSD, the XAUUSD, and then the USOil commodity. So I did a detailed video on what we are looking out for going into the new or into this week, and I went to as far as giving us an holistic point of view where we dissected the daily time frame, then we dived right into the 4 hours time frame to identify a simple setup that we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for this week. And these live sessions are actually a follow-up detail to that video, so I wouldn't be going into the higher time frame to give us an to analyze it, but what I'm going to be doing here is to be dissecting the 1 hour time frame. So if you do want to see how we got to this point, what was the idea or the rationale behind the decision we are making on the 1 hour time frame, I would advise you to watch this video so that you can also have a background knowledge of what we are talking about. And not only have a background knowledge of what we are talking about, you can also use the futures there to decide what your next line of action will be. So I have the link to the videos in the description box of this current video, and you can easily navigate to whatever aspect of the video you want to be watching, as I have the old videos timestamped. So with that being said, here I want to see, okay, thank you very much Akshay and Min. Amin says my video is lagging. Okay, I will look at what I can do about that. Thank you very much. Leon B, good morning to you. Thank you very much, and I'm so happy to see you too this morning. So let me look at what I can do as regard the lagging, and I think I'm having a poor internet reception here, so I don't know if you wouldn't mind if I switch my Wi-Fi, or let's try this out for a couple of minutes and let's see how it works. Let me know in the feedback if it works. Let's try it for a couple of minutes. I think the thing is trying to pick up. The reception is trying to pick up. So let's see how it works out in the next 5-10 minutes. And if it still remains the same, I will switch my Wi-Fi to the other one. So let me know in the comment section how this goes. All right. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business for today. And like I said earlier, today is going to be a very, very busy day as we anticipate the Federal Reserve rate decision coming up later today. And the consensus is quite obvious. We're expecting a 25 basis point rate hike, which is what everyone is looking forward to. And I'm of the opinion that if that is going to be the case, then we might likely see some bullish traction in favor of the US dollar. So let's run through the economic calendar to see, as we have other high impact macroeconomic event besides the federal rate decision for today. So here we are on the economic calendar. So we are going to be focusing on high impact events that is going to be affecting the currency pairs that we are monitoring. So we are going to be looking at high impact event that will be affecting the GBP, that is the pound sterling, the Japanese yen, and the US dollar. So for Wednesday, May 3, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a handful of high impact events. So the first one is coming up in about 4 hours 15 minutes from now, and that is the ADP employment change. And this is a measure of the change in the number of employed personnel in the US. And one thing about this thing is that a high reading is traditionally seen as positive or bullish for the US dollar, while a low reading is normally seen as a negative signal for the US dollar. And with the situation we have here, the previous data for the month of March came in at 145,000, and then the consensus projection for last month is coming in at 150,000. So for the consensus to have about 5,000 increase, that means there's some level of positivity in the US economy, which is likely going to be reflected during the ADP employment release coming up in 4 hours from now. So we are going to be looking forward to that one to see what the actual data is. Is it going to be below expectation, beyond expectation, or around just as the same as expected? Then we also have the ISM Services PMI, which is coming up in about 6 hours from now, and this index is released by the Institute for Supply Management, and it shows the business condition in the US non-manufacturing sector. And one thing about this data is that anything that comes in above 50 is seen as very good for the US economy, and anything below 50 is seen as negative. And from the previous data we have here, we have a 51.2 for the month of March, and we are expecting a consensus projection of 51.8, which is also on the positive side for the US dollar. You can see how things are ramping up to be in favor of the dollar, despite the fact that we saw the dollar drop significantly well yesterday. I think this morning, or probably into the major events for today, we might likely be seeing some rally for the dollar, as the dollar will be quite cheap enough for a lot of people to buy at that point. Now we also have the interest rate decision coming up later today, which is a preset regularity, a nation's central bank as an economic policy in which the board members take different measures, and most relevant one being the interest rate that it will charge on loans and advances to commercial banks. And with an interest rate hike, there is going to be some level of positivity for dollar, as this will increase the investing power of the dollar. Majority will want to buy the dollar, majority will want to save the dollar, and this will also increase the cost of lending. And when the increase of the cost of lending is high, definitely majority will not want to lend money and rather want to save or invest their funds. And this is definitely going to be another positive impact for the US dollar. Let's see what is going to be happening. Are we going to be having that 25 basis rate point hike, or is it going to drop below expectation? These are things that we are going to be looking forward to when we anticipate this event, which is definitely coming up in about 9 hours from now. So we have a whole lot of time to be able to monitor the price action and position ourselves in such a way that we can catch that potential opportunity when it happens. Then we also have the federal monetary policy statement coming up also that same time. This statement may influence the volatility of the US dollar and determine a short-term positive or negative trend. So we are going to be looking at that one too as well. Then we also have the FOMC press conference, which is coming up I think about 30 minutes after the federal interest rate decision. And so this is going to be like a 1 hour session where the press will have the privilege of asking questions and having an idea of what the Fed is planning for the next quarter of the new financial year. So that is what we are going to be looking at for today, and that is all we have as regards the high impact macroeconomic event. So majorly the dollar is on the focus for today, and let's see how the market is going to be anticipating this event, and at the same time how is going to be reacting just after the event. So these are the things we are going to be looking at. So join me as we dive right into the chart to dissect what is really going on in the market right now. So let me know, is the audio quality good? Let me know in the comment section. Dele, good morning to you, Dele. I'm glad to have you around. Thank you very much for saying hi there. Okay, Amin says it's cool. All right, with that being said here, let's dive right into the business for today. So the first thing we normally do is to take the US oil as usual. And what do we have here on the US oil? We have such a very profitable position on the US oil, as we have been selling the US oil since the beginning of this week. So let's see how the week started for us on the US oil and how we got by in the last 48 hours in this market. So at the beginning of the week, we were able to spot this whole setup where price action started the week at around the $76.20 level, as you can see here. So we had this old chopper situation, which was a sign that there was a level of indecision at the beginning of the week here, where majority are not still sure where price action is likely going to be going. And you all know what we do here whenever we cite this kind of simple setup, like a simple flat channel like this. All we want to do is remain patient and waiting for that opportunity, which is likely going to be coming in the form of a breakout of the resistance line or the breakdown of the support line for a trading opportunity. So this was what we were looking forward to. So we had a buy stop order above the resistance line if price action ever breaks out of that structure, and then we had a sell stop order below the support line in order to catch that move when price action drops to the downside. And the latter was what happened here, as we saw price action break down this $75.75 level for the first time this week, and this triggered our first sell position for the week. And at this point in time, we had a sell position running before we were caught up in this old choppy situation, which lasted about 24 hours in this market. But one fact here is that price action remained below the support line we identified at the beginning of the week, giving us a clue that sellers are still very, very present in this market. And one thing we decided here yesterday was to position ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential move. And what we did and what we deliberated on yesterday was using this bullish trend line that you can see on your screen right now as a guide that will give us a clue into how price action will be going for yesterday. And one thing we said here yesterday is that as long as price action remains above that trend line, we shall remain comfortable in our buy position with a buy expectation, where we said we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity at the breakout of the $75.75 level, retest of structure to join that bullish move to the upside, but that never happened at this point. So we have the trend line, and this support line here at the $75 area has a yardstick down on the US oil that you have there. Then we also had more opportunities to add more position to our existing trade. Remember, we stated this yesterday that if price action breaks down the $74 area, we are going to be adding more position to our existing trade. So if you had done that, actually, we had a TP target yesterday at the $72 area where price action hit, and we had two positions running with 300 and another 200 pips, making a total of a minimum of 500 pips in profit as at yesterday's evening. And for those who were part of this move, congratulations to you guys for being on standby to catch that move. Then I also identified a simple setup this morning. Let's quickly run through my public platform here to give you a point of view into how we were actually running this trade since the beginning of this week. So let's run through this. My public platform, the TradingView platform, where I normally share my commentaries alongside my Telegram platform. So this is what we saw at the beginning of the week. We were looking for the breakdown of the $75.75 level, and we saw this old chopper situation happen. And then as at yesterday, we looked out for the breakdown of the $75 area to join a sell momentum to the downside. And if price breaks out of the $75.75 level, we are going to be buying. And with the old situation, we had this old situation running, price action moved significantly well in our favor. And this was what we saw during the early hours of today here, which I shared on my public platform. So I said here, following a profitable start to the month for us, the price action has tested the $71.50 level yesterday and has since been caught within a consolidation around that zone ahead of the interest rate decision from the US economic docket today. Are we going to see a reversal from this key level or a trend continuation to the downside? An update on a lower time frame coming soon. And immediately after this, I shared an update here, and that was on the 15 minutes time frame, where I was able to identify a simple setup just around that $71.50 level, where price action has been oscillating in the last 18 hours in this market. So with the situation we have here, we have a simple channel where price action is caught within a range between the $71.65 level and the $71.45 level. So it's quite a tight range, about a 20-cent range we had there. And you all know what we look out for whenever price action falls within this kind of range. We want to see price action either break out of the resistant line to buy, or we look out for breakdown of the resistant line to sell. And I also mentioned here that we shall be awaiting confirmations before we join any potential move in this market. And let's see what has been happening in this market in the last couple of hours since this publication happened in this market. So we shall be scaling down into the 15 minutes time frame, where we were able to spot that simple setup here. And in fact, you will be glad, as you can see, price really dropped that structure to the downside and moving another whooping. You're going to check that in a moment. Hold on a second. So this is what we have here. So I told us all, if you check that comment, I said whenever the breakout or breakdown of that structure happens, we want to see some confirmation, which is always a retest of the structure on our lower time frame. And look at what happened here. We saw our price action broke down the $71.45 level, did a couple of retests of that structure, and since then price action has been dropping to the downside. And if you are taking advantage of this opportunity right here, you will currently be running with about let's see how many pips that is. That's over 100 pips in profit just within an hour in this market. So well done to everyone who has been part of this trade right now. And you all know what we are going to be doing. As soon as price action moves in our favor, we definitely want to be moving our stop loss to secure the current position. And at this point in time, I will be advising us to move all stop losses to anywhere around the $70.80 level. Let's secure that position around that area. And the reason why I'm giving so much room is simply because I want to give price action some space to breathe, with the hopes that price action will still continue to the downside. So well done to everyone who has been part of this profitable trade. And the next thing we are going to be doing right now is to see how we intend to probably join or add more position to our existing trade. And for the sake of those who missed out on this opportunity, we want to see how we could actually be part of this move if it's still going to continue to the downside. So in that regard, we want to scale back up into the 4 hours time frame, where I have something I would like to share with you, as this will also be a very important structure that we can use to project whatever our expectation is in this market. Now look at this old structure here on the 4 hours time frame. You will see that the retracement phase we thought here still continues to ride down to the downside, breaking down the support line of that descending channel. Remember, we had a descending channel figured out, which had been consistently respected by the sellers. Then we have a $71.50 level, which is that area we saw price action was consolidating during the early hours of today, where we identified that channel that was broken. a couple of hours ago to the downside, giving us this bearish move that we are witnessing right now. So that level shares a beautiful confluence with the support line of that descending channel. Now, if we go far to the left hand side, you will see how that level had been a major determinant of price action in the month of March before it was broken earlier in the month of April to give us that bullish move that we saw here. And with the whole situation here, we can see price action has broken down that structure to the downside, breaking down the support line of that descending channel too as well. Then at this point in time, for those who had actually missed out on this position right here, I'm sorry to say here that we would have no choice than to remain patient at this point for price action to evolve into another market structure that will give us a signal to either join or buy at this point. So for those who had a sell position running at this point, kindly move your stop loss, lock in that profit like I said earlier, and let's wait and see how price action is going to be reacting to this level that we are in right now. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakdown of a structure just like what we have here, we expect that at one point in time, price is likely going to come back, do a retest of that structure in anticipation of a trend continuation to the downside. So at this point in time, since we've missed this, let's hold on. For those who had missed out on this opportunity, let's hold on and see if price action will come back to either retest either the key level here, the $71.50 level, or the support line of the descending channel that was broken earlier to incite another wave to the downside. So these are things that we are going to be looking at. So let's hold on. Let's see what is going to be happening here, and be rest assured that I will be with you right in the comment section on both my TradingView platform and my Telegram platform to give you an update on what to look out for as we continue to monitor price action from this level. So once again, congratulations to everyone who has been part of this trade that we have here. So if you do have any questions, feel free to let me know right in the comment section. I will really appreciate and willing to be of help in that regard. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are good to go. We're on the same page. So let's move on to the next pair. So the next pair we are looking at this morning is the GBPUSD. And on the GBPUSD, we had some, I think the GBPUSD took quite a while before it started gaining that wave that has been happening across the USD pair. So yesterday we were selling the GBPUSD. And since Monday, actually, we've been selling this pair. And look at what we had here at the beginning of the week. This was what we observed during the early hours of this week when we saw this old flat channel between the 1.25700 area and the 1.25420 level. And in fact, price action started the week on a very strong bearish note as we saw the breakdown of the 1.25420, which gave us a signal that price action is likely going to be going to the downside. And for those who missed out on this opportunity on Monday, I told us all to remain patient, that we might still see another opportunity, which one of them could be a retest of the structure, respecting the trend line one more time to incite the trend continuation to the downside. And that was exactly what happened here. The market gave us a second chance to be part of that move, and since then price action had moved over 100 pips in our direction before we begin to see this bullish momentum. So let's run through what the commentaries are so that you can see how I kept the update going on my public platform. So this is the GBPUSD, and this was at the beginning of the week. So I shared my first commentary here where this whole structure was identified. We were waiting for a breakout or breakdown of the channel for a trading opportunity, and with our orders placed at both ends, we had our first sell position triggered as soon as price broke down the 1.25420 level. Then we saw price action come back to do a retest of structure, giving more opportunities for those who missed out on that first move to be part of this bearish momentum to the downside. And we looked out for more opportunities had the breakdown of the 1.2500 level to join more opportunities to this trade. And as you can see, price continued to move to the downside. And yesterday morning, we were looking forward to a potential that buyers might come in. So at this point in time, we saw the breakout after it has been broken. And I said a retest of that structure will give us more opportunity to buy. But the retest never happened. Instead, price action continued to drop to the downside. And if you remember yesterday, we had a structure at the 1.24840 where I said a breakdown of that structure definitely will incite a bearish move. And as you can see, price action continued to the downside here. And there's an update here where I told us all to secure our position. And at this point here, I said all sell position must be secured now, as buying opportunities could come in anytime soon. And the reason why I said buying opportunities coming anytime soon was simply because price action was right now at the trend line, which we are going to be looking at in a moment on the 4 hours time frame. And at that point, I said we should get ready for a potential buy opportunity, secure all position, looking out for buying opportunity above the 1.24840 level. Now, we saw what happened here this morning. So the much awaited bullish momentum appears to be gaining momentum as price action triggers our first buy position for the week at the breakout of the 1.24840. As we look out for more opportunities, we shall talk about this in detail during our live session. So this was my update here this morning. So we saw the buy stop order above the 1.24840 triggered. We had a breakout, retest of structure triggered that position, and then we had more opportunities at the breakout of the 1.250 level, which appears to have been broken at this point. So for those who have been part of this move right here, well done to you for being on standby to have caught this move, as we will be having two positions running right now. The first position will be running with about 35 pips in profit, and the second position is running with about 20 pips in profit. So well done to you guys for being on standby to have caught that move. Now, the next thing we want to be doing right now, you know what we do when price action moves in our favor, we want to move all stop losses to secure this current position, as we don't obviously want to lose out on whatever we had made so far. So at this point in time, anywhere around or above the 1.2500 level seems most appropriate to lock in some profit here. So we have the key level at the 1.25, which obviously has been our key level for the week here. So with that being said, now with your profit locked at this point in time, the next thing we are going to be doing is to go into the 4 hours time frame, where I said I wanted to show you why we thought that buying opportunity is gradually coming in. And if you recall at the beginning of the week, remember we identified this setup here at the beginning of the week, and at the same time in my videos too, we acknowledge the fact that price action is likely going to come back and do a sharp rejection of that trend line. And remember, this trend line has been a very strong guide for bullish momentum, which lasted over close to 2 months now. Since 20th of March, price action has consistently respected that trend line. And what we saw last week was a massive breakout of the 1.25 level, which happens to be our key level for the week, which we duly identified there. So we saw the breakout of the structure here, breakout of the structure, and the breakout of this bearish trend line that we have here. So we expected that price action from a technical standpoint will come back at one point to either retest the structure or respect the bullish trend line one more time to incite the trend continuation. So that is what we were looking forward to. And as soon as I saw the sharp rejection of that bullish trend line here, that was when I shared that update here yesterday, that all sell position must be secured now, as buying opportunities could come in anytime soon. So in that regard, we add a position above the 1.24840 to join, then the breakout of the 1.2500 level to add more position to our existing trade, which is exactly what is happening at this point in time. So will this turn out to be another trend continuation to the upside? Well, time will tell. And remember, we have an high impact event coming up later today, so we really need to be very, very careful. So we are going to be keeping a close eye on this pair pairs that involve the US dollar. So let's see how price action plays out going forward. Then where will our TP target be on this current position? Well, what I would do here is to take into consideration the impulsive move here. The last time price action tested the trend line was at this point, so I would want to use my Fibonacci extension tool to run it through that previous impulse leg. Hold on a second. And then we aim at an area between the 1.24 and the 1414 area, which will be, so let's, for the meantime, let's use the 1.272. That is, let's use the 1.26400 area, which will be dovetailing to about 150 pips in profits at this point. So let's see how price action plays out from this area. So TP target, maximum TP target here is sitting at the 1.26400 level. Let's see how far this momentum is going to go. Now, for those who had missed out on this opportunity, of course, let's see if the market has a tendency of giving us more opportunity to be part of this move. Now, we are back at the 1 hour time frame, and obviously we can see here that we have a trend line. Remember, after connecting the series of lower highs here since the beginning of this week, we have this bearish trend line which has consistently been respected by price action. And right now we have a situation where price appeared to have broken out of the trend line, and at this point we still need some confirmation to happen. This is not a true breakout yet. There's still a chance that this could turn out to be a false breakout, so we still need some confirmation to happen. And thank goodness we have moved our stop loss to lock in some profit, as anything could still happen at this point. Price action is still looking, the market structure is still looking very bearish, so there is still a chance that price action could still drop back into our key level. Now, if price action drops back into our key level, what are we going to be looking out for? So for those who had missed out on this buy opportunity, if at any point in time price comes back to do a retest of both the trend line and our key level at the 1.2500 area, what we are going to be doing is to scale down to our lower time frame. It could be your 5, 10, 15 minutes time frame, whichever case it may be. Then we look out for buying pressure around this area. That is, we see signs that sellers are finding it difficult to drop below the 1.2500 area. And if that is going to be the case, and we start seeing something like a double bottom structure, then we are in to join a breakout retest of that level to join or add more position to our existing trade. So that is how we are going to be looking out for more buying opportunities in this market. So for today, right now, we are looking bullish for today, as long as price action remains above this bearish trend line and the key structure at the 1.2500 area. So anytime price action is above the structure, even if it drops below the 1.25 at any point in time and it climbs back above the 1.25, we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity. So at this point, that is how we are going to be buying the GBPUSD for today. Then remember, we also have key structures that will welcome more trading opportunities in this market. Remember, we had a support line here at the 1.25420, which is another avenue to add more position to this existing trade if price action ever breaks out, retest that structure. Then we also have the highest point price action has ever been for this week, which is at the 1.25700 area, another area we are going to be looking out for more opportunities to add more position to our existing trade. And as you can see, this current market structure here has a tendency and the potential of giving us multiple entries. So what we want to be doing is to ensure that we are on standby to take advantage of these moves when they finally happen. But be rest assured that I will be with you in the comment section on both my trading view and my Telegram platform to give you update as at when due, to guide our moves going forward. If you do have any questions regarding what I just explained so far, feel free to drop your enquiries in the comment section. I will be going through the comment section from time to time to see if there are any questions for me. So with that being said, here on the GBPUSD, we shall be moving on to the next pair, which is the XAUUSD, which is another profitable trade for us for this week. So the XAUUSD was another beautiful trading opportunity we had yesterday on this pair. So let's run through how the week started for us on the GBP, on the XAUUSD. Actually, we've been seeing signs that buyers will come in. And if you recall or watched my video on the XAUUSD yesterday, I told you how much I believed the buyers is likely going to be taking over this market, and I will be sharing you one of the reasons why we saw that. Now look at the 4 hours time frame here. What we saw on the 4 hours time frame was that we saw this demand zone at the 1970 level on the 1 hour time, on the 4 hours time frame. Despite the fact that this market structure is looking bearish after we connected the series of lower highs here. Remember, we had this old trend line after we connected the series of lower highs, giving us this trend line you can see on your screen right now. But one interesting thing about this market that made us think that this bearish trend line is not that significant enough to support this trend continuation to the downside, and that is that structure we identified at the 1970. Now look at what has been happening around this area since the mid-month of April. We saw how sellers were finding it difficult to break down the 1970 1975 zone in the last 3 to 4 weeks in this market. And as soon as price gets into this level, we saw how buyers takes over the market, pushing price back to the upside. And we had an hint at the beginning of the week when price action broke out of the trend line to give us a signal that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to reject any bullish momentum in this market anymore. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we sight a breakout of a structure, we expect that price action was to come back to do a retest of that level, which is exactly what happened here. So after the breakout of structure, we saw price come back into structure. We saw some buy pressure here yesterday before this bullish momentum happened, making us be part of this bullish move. Now let's go back into the lower time frame where we saw that simple setup. So at the beginning of the week, we initially had this opportunity of joining that bullish momentum here. Remember, on Monday we had the privilege of taking advantage of this when price action triggered our buy position there. Price moved about 160 pips thereabout before dropping back into that channel we identified at the beginning of the week. Remember, we had this old channel between the 1980 and the 1992, and what we saw here yesterday was quite interesting. We saw how sellers found it difficult to break down the structure, and for the fact that price action is sitting on a very strong demand zone at the 1975 and the 1970, it is quite clear that we look out for buying opportunity. And to help us trade this position for us yesterday, I was able to identify a simple setup on the 15 minutes time frame, which we actually used to take advantage of that trading opportunity. So this was what we saw here. Hold on a second. So this was what we saw here on the 15 minutes time frame yesterday. So if you are with us during our live session yesterday, this is what we saw on the 15 minutes time frame that supported that bullish move. Now we saw this whole situation here where price action was trapped within a channel between the 1985 and the 1980. It was a $5 range that we saw here, and for the fact that price action was unable to break down the support line here, was a beautiful signal for us. And what we said here is that we are going to be having our buy stop order above the 1985 to be able to be part of this bullish move to the upside. And in fact, if you had missed out on that opportunity, the market gave us another privilege to be part of that move as it came back to do a retest of that structure to incite that bullish move to the upside. So it was quite an interesting position for us yesterday, as we also added more position, had the breakout of the 1990 level to trigger more position to our existing trade, as we saw our price climbed up to the upside. And in fact I also updated this on my public platform yesterday. Hold on a second, let's run through that quickly. As soon as price hit our TP target, I told, okay, I can see a comment here. See, Luna asked for my Telegram channel. The Telegram ID is scrolling at the bottom of your screen right now. Just check it out, copy it, and you can paste it on your Telegram, and you will find my channel there. So try and look at it, and join the link. Okay, so this is what we saw here on the XAUUSD yesterday. So I want to quickly run through how we took advantage of that opportunity. Okay, this is what we saw here. So we had this. So I told us to add more position at the breakout of the 1,990 here. Then as soon as price approached $2,005 mark, which I told us here is our TP target. See what I said here? I said secure all buy positions as price action approaches the TP target zone. Still looking out for more opportunities at the breakout retest of the 2005 zone. Now we had our TP target hit here with about 350 pips in profit on 2 positions as price action hit the 2005. Then we had another buy stop order about 2005 triggered here, and we can see what is going on here. We had 120 pips running at this point. Then during the early hours of today, I identified the simple setup here. I said following a highly profitable trade yesterday, the third position hit a new high at the $2,019.50 zone and has since fallen into a consolidation phase. Secure the buy position while we look out for more opportunities, and remember that we have a major event coming up today that has a high chance to strongly affect this market. We will discuss this in detail during our live session today. So this is what we saw. Then I quickly updated something on the 15 minutes time frame where I identified the simple setup where price action is caught within a range in the last 10 to 12 hours. So let's go back into the live chat and let's look at that current structure we identified there. So this is what we saw here during the early hours of today. So we have this simple setup, which definitely is going to be our guide for today. Now look at this whole structure here. We have something like this price caught within a range right now between the $2,019.50 level, which happens to be our resistance point, and the highest point price action has been for this year. Then we have a support line at the $2,012 area. Then I have a key level around the 2015, which is going to be serving as a parameter for trading opportunity for today. Now, what do I mean by that? So as long as price action remains above the $2015 area, we'll be looking out for buying opportunities in this market. So if you have a buy position and you are above the 2015, feel comfortable that this position is still very valid. But if at any point in time price action drops below the $2015 area, at this point the tendency of a momentum shift increases. So at that point, we want to be getting ready to sell if we see the breakdown of the 2015. Then in addition to that key level, I was able to identify a trend line as well, connecting the series of higher lows here in the last 16-15 hours here. You can see after connecting the higher lows, I have a trend line figured out, giving me a bullish trend line, which obviously will also be used in alongside the $2015 level to guide our trading activity. So if price remains above both the structure, we feel comfortable in the current buy position we have. So for everyone who are taking advantage of the buy position at the breakout of the $2005 mark area, kindly move all stop losses right around or below the 2012. Secure the current buy position and let's wait out for more opportunities, which will come in the form of a breakout of the resistance line here at the $2019.50 level, then probably a retest of structure, which is likely going to come to as far as the trend line or the 2019 resistance line to incite a trend continuation to the upside. So at this point, we're having a buy stop order above the $2019.15 level to join a potential move to the upside. So if this happens, then we want to be part of that move to the upside. So as long as price remains above the structures, we feel comfortable in all our buy positions in this market. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity, of course, it's a very strong bullish trend. It's quite reasonable to continue to look out for more opportunities to add more buy positions to our existing trade. But one thing about us here is that we don't want to keep all our eggs in one basket. So we want to be as fluid and versatile as possible. The market is a very fluid environment. So for us to make money, we have to be as fluid and flexible as possible. So if the market starts changing and moving in the opposite direction, we also want to be on standby to catch that move. Now, based on this current structure, despite looking out for buying opportunities here, what do we want to see on this chart that will make us change our bias in this market from bullish to bearish? So at this point in time, the only thing I want to see in this chart that will make me sell the XAUUSD is for price action to break down the $2012 mark. That is the support line of this channel. Break it down, probably retest of the 2012 or the retest of the 2015. The most important thing we are looking out for is a reversal pattern that will incite that buyers have lost that steam to continue to the upside. Then we prepare to sell the XAUUSD. So at this point in time, breakdown of 2012 seems more reasonable to sell the XAUUSD at this point. Now the question some people will ask is this: are we going to be waiting for the old, how many pips is that from this point to this point? Is about 45 pips. Are we going to be waiting for the old 45 pips to happen before we join? Well, at this point in time, it is a very strong bullish momentum, and there is a chance that we could still have a false breakdown of the structure. So it is very important that we remain patient. Even if a breakdown of the $2012 level happens, we still need some confirmation that will give us the confidence that sellers have finally gained some momentum to go to the downside. And if that is going to be the case here, let's see a retest of structure happen before we join the sell move. So if price action drops below the $2012 mark, we scale down to our lower time frame, then we look out for a retest of structure confirming that buyers are finding it difficult to continue the momentum. Then we can join that decline to the downside. Then as soon as we join the sell momentum to the downside, remember we have this key structure that was broken yesterday at a $2005 mark area, which might likely be a level to retest the breakout of structure. So as soon as price gets into that level, you want to secure all sell positions as we wait and see how price action will be reacting to the structure to determine if we are going to be adding more sell position to our existing trade, or we are going to be getting ready to join another wave of bullish momentum. So that's a very key area we are going to be looking out for if a sell opportunity comes in this market. But I'm going to be with you in the comment section as usual on my Trading View and Telegram platform to give you updates on what we are going to be doing if price action ever gets to that level. So that is how we are going to be trading the XAUUSD for today. If you do have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section, and be rest assured that I am willing to be of help in that regard. So with that being said, here on the XAUUSD, let's dive right into the last pair for today, which is the USDJPY. Now on the USDJPY, another very profitable trade we had here on the USDJPY yesterday, as we were able to sell and join the bearish move right around the 137.300, giving us a whooping, I think the first position here is giving us a whooping 150 pips move. That is if you only had one position running, and if you had joined, added more positions, had the breakdown of the structures we identified yesterday, like the 137.00 area, that's another 130 pips in profit. And if you had also added one more position at the breakdown of the 136.200 this morning, that is another 60 pips position there. So we are roughly close to about 400 pips on this sell position alone. Now, what did we see that made us to sell this? And remember that we bought the USDJPY at the beginning of the week, where we were looking out for more buying opportunities here. So this was what we saw at the beginning of the week. So we saw this whole situation here where price action actually started the week on a very strong bullish note, as we saw the 136.200 serving as a platform for buying power in this market. We saw the resistance line here, and I told us all here on Monday that we are going to be looking out for a breakout of this resistance line for our first buy position, which is exactly what happened during the New York session, and price action moved about 80 pips in our favor before this old bearish move began. And what made us to sell at this point? Remember, we had two key structures here on the 1 hour time frame, which was supposed to be our guide. The first one here is this trend line. So we connected the series of higher lows since Friday of last week's trading session, where we had this bullish trend line, which has been supporting that bullish momentum since last week. and we said if price action remains above that trend line, we look out for more buying opportunities, as we had a buy stop order above the 137.780, hoping that price action will break out that level to take us to new highs. But that did not happen. As you can see here, instead we had the breakdown of the trend line and the 137.530 area, which I spotted during our live session yesterday, and I said that will be our guide for selling opportunities if price action breaks down, retest that structure. And what did we see here? We saw a breakdown and we saw multiple retests of the 137.530, and at this point we had a buy stop order below the 137.300, 137.00 and the 136.200 area, giving us 3 positions running in profit on this one. And for those who are taking advantage of all these positions here, well done to you for being on standby to have taken advantage of this move. And right now, you know what we want to be doing. Of course, we want to secure all our sell positions right now, as we don't want to lose out on whatever we had made so far. So right now we are going to be moving our stop losses to somewhere around the 136.200, giving some room for price action to breathe, with the hopes that we might likely be seeing another wave to the downside. Now, there is one thing I would like to show you on the 4 hours time frame, which we actually deliberated on yesterday, and this was as a result of the bearish momentum we were expecting. Remember, we were expecting this bearish momentum. We said majority who had bought the USDJPY at a very cheap price at the 134.00 level, that at one point in time they might likely want to be doing some profit taking activity, which will reflect on this chart as a retracement phase, which we have been seeing here in the last 24 hours in this market. Now the question at this point is, how far will this retracement phase go before the second wave of the bullish momentum will happen? And to identify that, what we did here yesterday was to bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool, and we ran it through the previous impulse leg to aim at our golden zone area, which is always between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. And that is why we have this whole structure here. So we had a window between the 135.500 and the 134.250 area, where we are looking out for our TP target, and at the same time more buying opportunities in this market. So anywhere around this area you could have your TP target. Some of us will have been taken out of this position at the 135.500. As we can see here, price action tested that structure a couple, like 4 or 5 hours ago in this market. Some of us will have been taken out, and for those who are still in this trade, I've told you, move your stop loss, lock in some profit. Let's see how far this retracement phase will go, and as soon as price gets into the zone, which is already in right now, we want to see buying pressure, we want to see reversal patterns, we want to see structures like double bottom structures, head and shoulder patterns, structures that support that price action has finally culminated this retracement phase. Then we shall be getting ready to join that bullish move to the upside. Be rest assured I will be with you in the comment section as usual. Once the structures is forming, we shall be getting ready to be part of that move. So I will be seeing you in the comment section on both my Trading View and Telegram platform, so that we can anticipate the events we are expecting to do. So let's be on standby. And it's on this note I want to be calling today here. It has been a wonderful moment. See Luna, okay, you've joined. All right, glad to have you around with us, and I hope you have a profitable experience with me. So on this note, I want to be calling it a day here, and please note, everyone who is in a trade right now should ensure that all positions are secured. Move your stop loss accordingly, lock in some profit. We have a handful of high impact macroeconomic event coming up today, which is likely going to send ripples across the market and cause some volatility in this market. And if we are lucky enough to be in the right direction, we are going to be maximizing more profit on this one. I am of the opinion that the dollar is going to rise, but we are not judging on our opinions, but respecting the market structure to determine what our next line of action will be. I'm expecting that on most of the USD pairs, we are likely going to be seeing some bullish traction on that pair prior to the event or after the event. I am still expecting a bullish momentum, but let's see what plays out. If the market says otherwise, we would have no other choice than to follow the market's instruction. So on this note, I wish you best of luck. and looking forward to seeing you right in the comment section on both my TradingView and Telegram platform as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye bye.